Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're diving into some pretty interesting stuff today.
All right.
We're going to be looking at, the aftermath of the 2023 Nigerian presidential election.
Okay.
Specifically, some claims made by the presidency about why Atiku Abubakar lost.
Yeah, after a big election, like there's always,
Right. Yeah.
different sides to the story.
Exactly. And so we're going to be taking a deep dive into an article from Sahara Reporters.
Right.
It's titled "Atiku's Promise to Sell NNPC Others to Friends Partly Cost Him 2023 Presidential Election Presidency."
Okay.
And this was published November 4th, 2024, so pretty recently.
Gotcha.
Um, and yeah, the article basically lays out the presidency's view on why Atiku's bid for the presidency failed.
Yeah.
One of the big things they point to is this campaign pledge that Atiku made about selling state assets, and specifically the NNPC.
Right. Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, can you give us a little context on that?
Yeah, so the NNPC stands for the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, and it's a massive organization.
Yep.
I mean, it's basically the heart of the Nigerian economy.
Yeah,
That's,
okay.
oil revenue is huge for their budget, for their overall economic stability. So anytime anyone talks about privatizing something that big and that important, it's going to be a really sensitive topic.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It makes people nervous.
Definitely. And the article claims that this proposal to sell off the NNPC really spooked voters.
Right.
They were worried that it would just end up benefiting Atiku's buddies, instead of like actually helping the country as a whole.
Yeah, privatization can be a good thing sometimes,
Right.
but it can definitely be risky too.
Yeah.
I mean, there are always concerns, like will things be sold off too cheaply, or will there be enough transparency, and will the benefits that they're promising actually reach everyday people? And in a place like Nigeria, where there's already, a lot of worry about corruption, those concerns are probably even bigger.
That makes sense.
People are going to be extra cautious.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a big deal.
So the presidency also seems to be drawing a connection between Atiku's privatization plans now and his time as vice president back from 1999 to 2003.
Yeah.
They mention a controversial privatization program from that era.
Yeah, during that time, there was this big push to privatize a lot of state-owned enterprises across different sectors, not just oil.
Okay.
And it definitely got mixed reactions.
Yeah.
Some people argued that it caused job losses and that it didn't really make things more efficient,
Right.
while others thought it was a step in the right direction, towards a more open economy.
Okay, so it sounds like the presidency is bringing this up to make people question Atiku's judgment.
Right, exactly. They're basically trying to use his past to cast doubt on his economic policies now.
And this article also goes on to criticize Atiku's stance on education, which I found pretty interesting.
Oh, really? What do they say?
They find it ironic that he founded private universities while also being critical of the state of public education in Nigeria.
Huh. That's a good point. It definitely makes you wonder, is his criticism coming from a place of genuine concern?
Right.
Or is it more about self-interest?
Yeah, like is he just trying to promote his own schools?
Exactly. And it also brings up this bigger issue of inequality in the Nigerian education system. Access to good education is a huge challenge there.
Right.
And the gap between private and public schools is really wide.
Absolutely. Okay, so to kind of counter all this, the presidency claims that their own economic reforms are actually working,
Okay.
even though they admit there are some temporary difficulties.
It's always hard to judge economic reforms right away. It takes time for the effects to really kick in.
Right.
So you have to look beyond the political talk and actually dig into the numbers.
Yeah.
Like, are some sectors doing better than others? What are the long-term projections?
That makes sense.
Those are the questions we need to ask to really understand what's going on.
So just to wrap things up, it sounds like the presidency is saying Atiku lost because of his plan to privatize the NNPC.
Yeah.
They're framing it as a dangerous move that would just lead to cronyism and economic problems.
Right. They're trying to paint a pretty bleak picture.
Exactly. And they're contrasting that with their own policies, which they claim are on the right track.
They're using this article to push their own narrative about the election,
Yeah,
trying to highlight their successes and make their opponent look bad.
Definitely. All right. So now here's something for you all to think about.
Okay.
Based on what we've talked about today, what are your thoughts on the role of state-owned assets in a developing economy like Nigeria? Is privatization always the answer?
Yeah.
Or are there good reasons to keep the government in control of certain sectors?
That's a tough one.
It is. And how do you think Things like history and corruption and public perception play into this whole debate.
Definitely a lot to unpack there.
It's a really complex issue with no easy solutions, and we encourage you to keep learning about it.
For sure.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you next time.
See ya. Bye.